Welcome to the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJTV and RJAM News if you're on YouTube, or DZRJ if you're on Facebook. Yes, we are everywhere. My name is LeCain and I'm joined with Lalie Tolentino, who's always here to make me look better. Hello, Lalie Tolentino.
Hi, Eric. How's life there?
You know, life is okay. We have come out of the ECQ and now we have dove back into the pool of MECQ. So we are swimming around in that right now, which is going to be okay. It's going to be here until August 7th, when they will probably go back to ECQ. I don't want to say that.
7th.
Don't let me say that. Okay. Anyway, August 7th. September 7th. Yeah, because we are, I think it's already August 29th, so we can't go back in time. So yeah, coming up in September, they will make another decision on what we're going to do. So for right now, we are in MECQ. So, Lalie, I don't know if you heard this, but did you hear that the United States has come out with their investigations into the origin of the virus?
A little bit. I did not, pay attention to that because, you know what? For me, it's a waste of time to know. To my opinion is that, no need to go back to the past. Just move forward.
Just move forward. Why? What do we need to know? What is the difference is it going to make if we know how the thing started? I mean, if you remember, Lalie, right here on this show, several times over the past year and a half, we have talked about this and we have said, you have just, did this virus, did it start in the Wuhan laboratory? Did it leak out of the laboratory? And I would go, oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. This thing came naturally from, nature, and that, a bat probably spit on another animal and that animal got a virus and they gave it to a human. And that's how this thing happened. Quit with the conspiracy theories. And then, things have kind of changed a little bit because before people said it came from an animal and we just accepted that. I said, okay, it makes sense to me. That's what I'm going to say. But, now that we've kind of learned a little bit more about what happened in China and what happened in Wuhan, the fact that, the way that viruses are generally made or come about is, like I said, they are from bats. A lot of these things come from bats. They come from the southern region of China, and the bat gives it to another. Because the coronaviruses in a bat are not that dangerous to humans. They're not. But they give it to another animal, and then that animal has a different kind of genetic system, and then, the virus mutates inside that animal, then that animal somehow gives it to a human. Okay, there you go. But the interesting thing is that bats live in the southern part of China. And this is something that I didn't really know that much until now. I've learned a lot about things because of this investigation that's come out. And that the chances of this thing being spread from a bat in Wuhan, which is in middle to northern China, is very hard to swallow. Because bats don't live there. Bats don't live in Wuhan. Yes, there is a food market there, and sometimes people sell bats to eat. Why you'd want to eat a bat? That's an Ozzy Osbourne question. But, why would we assume that because it just so happens in the same town as where the coronavirus started, there happens to be, a level 4 super lab. That is, all they do is study and catalog and keep coronaviruses. That's what they do. It just happens to be there. And, one of the other, interesting things is that at that lab, they don't just take samples of the coronavirus. They also create different coronaviruses that are really bad for humans. Like the kind of coronaviruses that will kill a human, they create in that lab because they want to study them in case, there's an outbreak of a virus later. Like, for instance, a long time ago, we used to blow up nuclear weapons out in the desert so we could study them to see if we can use them to, in war. And then we turns out we irradiated the land and then did some really bad things. But anyway, so, and it turns out that a couple people got sick with the exact same symptoms in the lab, who worked in the lab in November of 2019. You know, the original case that they thought of the people that got the coronavirus were never in the market. They never went to that market. They found that the virus, they just assumed that the virus was coming from the market because that's where they, sell, weirdo animals in China, so they, can eat them and get more virility in their life. But it's just fascinating. When this word came out of this coronavirus, the lady that works in the lab, who's known as the bat lady, who studies bats, her whole life is about bats. And she was coming back and she was going, this can't be true. They have the story wrong because bats in Wuhan, they can't transfer things to other animals and then to humans. And it's not possible. And then she's thinking, I wonder if this came from our lab. Did it get leaked from our lab? And then later, of course, she, said, oh, of course not. It couldn't be in our lab. And so, Joe Biden there, he says, let's find out where this is from. And so China is like, we're not going to help you in any way. And we're like, but don't you want to find out where it came from? Because you're saying that it's not your fault that it didn't come from your lab. So why don't we investigate your lab and make sure? And China's like, nope, we're not doing that. So the United States did their own investigation with like the CIA and the FBI. Like, so there's spies like in China were finding out the information that the best they could. But, Australia, they wanted to do an investigation. And what happened after that? They said they wanted to do an investigation. So what did China do? They sanctioned Australia. It just seems, I'm not saying that it is, but boy, does it smell of a cover-up from China, especially after this story that was just released. Now, everything is inconclusive. You know why? Because we're never going to find out the answer to this question. Unless somebody in the lab, gets, a free visa to the United States and they get them to the United States and put them under protective custody and they say, you know what, we dropped a vial, or, we didn't close the fridge one night, something, and that thing got out, and that's how this thing happened. But it's starting to look more and more like I was wrong, which is very rare.
Well, we'll just, like I said, is it worth it to find out, really? I mean, for a lot of people that I, talk about this issue before, they said, the only thing that they can do is just solve the problem. There's already a pandemic. Why focus on, maybe later? I don't know, but they might have the right people to do it. I mean, like the US, they can do it, really. And then find someone, who can spill the beans, maybe in the future, maybe not now. I don't know, because that person might be, before they even, get the right answer from that person, whoever's involved, they might kill them, kill her or him. You don't know.
I don't know. I mean, what is it worth? I mean, the only thing that it's worth is Eric LeCain here on the World News Jam. I want to know. I just want to know. I want to know where it came from. I'm starting to suspect, though, that somebody made a mistake. And because, I don't know if you knew this, but they checked this lab out like before. Like years before, they came, some of the big scientists, whatever, came to the lab and checked it out and said, hey, you know what? This lab is not safe. There's things in this lab that shouldn't be there. Like, we should not have this dangerous a virus, like, sitting around. And they don't follow the proper protocols. And then they went back again, like, years later and said, they're still not doing it. And so, and now we have this. And it just, for China to say, oh, no, it's not the lab. The lab is called, the coronavirus lab. That's all they do. And the central point of the coronavirus is in Wuhan. I don't know. Come on. Does it seem like maybe, sort of, kind of could be, maybe you ought to check it out? I don't know.
Okay.
It's just me.
Okay, send your people there, Eric, and find out.
I'm going to send Lalie Tolentino to Wuhan to check this out.
Oh, I will easily find it out.
Get your bag packed. Anyway, what questions do we have from our viewers this week about things that they are interested in? Because I know what I'm interested in. I want to find out what happened to you are. But what else everybody else interested in?
I'm just interested first to wear my beautiful pink glasses.
Oh, look at your beautiful glasses. And of course, I always have my Anderson Cooper glasses right here in my hand. Do you know why we like glasses? Why do we get glasses? Why do we get glasses, Lalie Tolentino, such later times in life?
Well, because we're old.
Because we're old. That's why we get our glasses. So as your cornea starts to degrade and melt away in your eyes, and you can't see anymore, and you're becoming blind. So what you do if you think you're becoming blind like me, go down to IQ Optical at Cash and Carry and get 50 to 70% off on their glasses. Because not only can you see, but you also look like a CNN anchor newsman. Okay. Lalie Tolentino.
Yeah. All right.
Well, you can look beautiful like Lalie Tolentino in her giant pink glasses.
I know, right? Yeah. I need a giant one so I can read everything here because we have a lot of questions here, Eric. Let's go to Indy of Quezon City.
All right. Let's get it started here.
Okay. I think she asked almost the same question last week from Indy. What happened now to Australia and New Zealand? 3 cases. Update, please.
All right.
What happened now?
Okay. Now, Australia had this COVID-0 plan, and the COVID-0 plan is not working. They were going to stamp out any outbreaks of COVID based on the last person that got it. They were doing all these things. However, that turns out that's not that easy to do, and it's not a sustainable system, because they step on the fire, put the fire out, and then another one starts over here, and then another one starts over there, and they can't keep up with it. So for now, as long as the hospitals can handle it, they're just going to let nature take its course. They're going to quit this whole COVID-0 plan thing and just let the virus go. And they said, once they get to this 80% vaccination goal, which they think they're going to get to really soon, they're just going to drop all the restrictions and then hope that it works. Remember, Australia and New Zealand, very much like the Philippines, are not connected to other countries. They are completely, their borders are surrounded by water. And so Australia and New Zealand, they locked down their borders completely to keep the virus out. But, the problem with that was they also kept their citizens out, and some of their citizens got stuck in places like India, and they got sick and died because they couldn't come home. So, Australia, for all the great things they've done, have topped 1,000 cases a day. Just this week, since the pandemic began, they're having the most cases ever. So they're now setting up outdoor tents, trying to deal with all these cases. And, they're just, as the cases are just soaring in Australia now, which just seems insane, they're just trying to get everybody vaccinated. The new variant has hit Australia, and it is just spreading all over the place. So they're trying to do everything they can to see if they can thwart this, and this is their new plan. And meanwhile, in New Zealand, they had 70 new cases on Friday. So, how much we revere New Zealand and how much we love her president here on the show. So new cases in Auckland now hit 333. But they are, they're very strict there on the quarantine. Those people, they're putting them in quarantine, and the people that are looking at them have all the PPE on. They trace all the cases to one cluster of people. So they have this great tracing program in New Zealand. So they trace everything to one cluster. So, like I said before, New Zealand and Australia, who we said were the best, and now the Delta variant is there, and now they're having problems as the evil sickness is, moving across their land.
Well, you know what? My opinion is this. Because, after more than a year, we are in this pandemic. And every now and then, every every week or whatever, we will always have a new variant. Okay, there's an Alpha, Omega, now it's Delta, and there's Lambda. So I think,
Lambada.
Lambada. That's why, Eric, I told you, I don't want to dance Lambada anymore because there's already Lambda in the Philippines. So, but, kidding aside, just because of this, I mean, no matter how great your leader is, if like the Delta gets to your country, and how much, even though you're trying to do everything you can, because it is a virus, a little virus that we don't see. So how can you control that? It's not easy. So for me, it's the people. People should be responsible for their own health. So like here, we have cases going up and everything. So for me, it's a personal responsibility already. Don't blame the government anymore. Don't blame anyone. Just be responsible. That's all I can say.
That's all. Listen to Lalie Tolentino.
Yes. Now let's go.
The queen of the giant bean glasses.
All right. Let's go to one of Baguio City. How true? Okay. That in Iceland, vaccines have worked with no deaths since May.
Isn't that great? Yeah, it's interesting. So far, Iceland has had 31 total COVID deaths, but lately, their death count is 0, and their 7-day average has been 0. And why is Iceland able to do this? Well, first of all, it's Iceland. It's great right there near the Antarctica. But the one reason is, and I have to say this because I've done some research on this, the one reason is they believe it's their duty as citizens to get vaccinated. That's why, that's what they do. And they are 90% vaccinated now. So
imagine that.
There is a reason why they had a 7-day average of cases and it's 0. And it's hard pressed to find anybody there who has not been vaccinated or anybody who has a friend that has not been vaccinated. But let me just quickly say it's not all rosy in Iceland right now, because in the last 2 days, they had a 50-year-old guy die there of COVID. And 14 people have now been hospitalized with the virus because it snuck in again. And the new, variant is there in Iceland. And, this just happened. Like, they were 0. And then this just happened, like literally in the last couple of days. So they have their own app there. They do all their tracing and tracking, and they know where it came from, and they know how the people got it. But Iceland is doing incredibly well, and we're doing absolutely perfect until like 2 days ago.
Yeah, Steve, look at that. I mean, this thing could happen at any given time. I was so happy when I read about this Iceland thing, and I said, wow, that's great, because people are, like you said, 90% vaccinated already.
Yeah.
And they're just doing what is right, I think. I think we should follow them.
Yeah, if you listen to the people of Iceland speak, you watch any videos of type in Iceland and COVID, they're like, this is, we're doing this because we're going to make sure that our country is the best of anybody, and we have a lot of pride in our country, and we're all doing it. We're just doing it. And they couldn't find anybody. They walked through Auckland just interviewing people. They couldn't find anybody that wasn't vaccinated and wasn't saying, I'm proud to be vaccinated.
Wow. Wonderful. All right, let's go to a little more exciting question from Ellen of Pasig. What do you think U.S. will do after the U.S. troops in Afghan killed in suicide outside Kabul airport? Are they going to run after ISIS as they claim responsibility?
Well, this is what we were afraid of. Just at the very end of the U.S. leaving Afghanistan, somebody gets killed. And what if it's an American that gets killed? Or what if it's an American military person that gets killed? And, in case anybody doesn't know the news, it was Thursday, crowds were everywhere at the airport because everybody's trying to get out as the Taliban is coming in. And people were all over, and then, boom, a bomb went off. And it was one of those suicide bombers, went in, blew himself up at the gate of the airport. And then, boom, another one went off at a nearby hotel. And then gunshots started flying everywhere because the people that did the bombs also had gunners, like, up on the tops of buildings shooting people as the chaos, ensued. And in the end, 13 U.S. servicemen lost their lives. 90 Afghans lost their lives. 150 people were injured. And it looked like an ISIS attack. I mean, suicide bombers running into a crowd, and then after the bomb goes off, gunmen there to shoot people in the chaos. And we also think it's ISIS because ISIS said, hey, it's us. It was us. ISIS, we did it. It's one of the deadliest attacks that has happened in the 20 years that the United States has been there. And President Biden came out and said, you know what? The United States is going to retaliate against those who are responsible. We will hunt you down and we will make you pay. It's one of those, presidential things. And so, the Taliban, who has threatened the United States numerous times, if they're not out of the country by the deadline, they say they're going to help. We're going to help. We're going to help you catch these guys. So, our enemy, the Taliban, are going to help us catch ISIS, our worst enemy.
Do you trust it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, the Taliban that helped hide Osama bin Laden, but they want the Taliban wants the U.S. out. They didn't want something like this to happen. I know. Because if something like this happens, the United States is going to stay. They're going to stay. If they get attacked, then they're going to stay and find out who this was. Now, ISIS, their goal, ISIS doesn't care about Afghanistan. ISIS's goal is to create chaos in the world. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to create chaos. They wanted to, show that the Taliban is not strong as they are. Who knows what they're doing. But anyway, as of yesterday, Biden sent one of those drones into the desert in Afghanistan and found a couple of those guys. And once a drone finds you, once one of those U.S. drones finds you, that's pretty much it for you. And so that drone shot them. I think they killed 2 of them and injured 1. Of course, how do we know this? We don't know. But that's what they're telling us. When a drone comes in and shoots at you, you blow up. There's like nothing left of you. But I guess they found a fingernail or something, and they are saying that 2 of those guys that they believe are connected to this incident they have now killed. And I'm sure that the United States is going to continue to look for more people. But like I said, the Taliban say they're going to help as well. It's like when somebody robs your house and then your neighbor who's been shooting at you says, you know what, we'll help you catch the robbers. I'm like, okay, all right, fine.
Okay, I don't think the U.S. believe yet.
I would keep one eye open if the Taliban is trying to help me in something. But it's just, the only thing I can say is it's just very unfortunate that, of all the things that could happen, of course now ISIS is jumping into the mix right when they're at the end and seeing if we can, how many people can we kill on the way out the door?
Yeah, well, what can I say? All right, let's now go to the review of Makati. CDC warned against the use of anti-parasitic drug ivermectin for COVID-19. And they say it can cause damage to some parts of the human body. Can you add some more info? Some Filipinos believe it's a miracle drug.
Well, all right. So, let me just reiterate what I have said numerous times in the past. For example, just to make it simple for some Filipinos, you have a table and there's a cup, and in that cup is a vaccine which the world spent billions on to stop you from dying and reduce the spread of COVID-19. And in the other cup is a deworming drug for horses. All right. It's supposedly, the ivermectin supposedly will make you not get COVID as bad. That's what they're saying. There's no conclusive proof of this, but that's what they're saying. But still, let me just reiterate. You got 2 cups here. Which do you pick? The vaccine that was designed to keep you from dying of COVID that's free, or go out and buy a horse dewormer? I don't understand why the decision is so difficult. Why we won't take the vaccine, yet we want to take a drug that's for parasites. Maybe it does something, maybe it works, but we have the vaccine over here, and it's free. Let me just say, one last thing. In Mississippi, I read this the other day, they had 70% of the calls coming into the Poison Control Center are people who have taken ivermectin. And they are thinking about putting a label on the ivermectin boxes that says, this is not for humans. even though it says for horses on it. I mean, in Texas alone, there was an increase in 550% increase in the Poison Center calls. And those are related to people taking ivermectin. The FDA released a statement in the last 2 weeks that reads, you are not a horse, you are not a cow. Seriously, stop it. Somebody's making a joke at the FDA. But still, this is very, this is in Georgia right now. I mean, I do these U.S. stories. In Georgia right now, animal supply stores are running out of ivermectin. You can't get it. If you call every single animal supply store, you can't get it. Except supposedly there's one place that you can get it. But if you call them up, the first thing they'll say is, what are you going to use this for? Are you going to give it to an animal, or are you going to take it yourself? And if you say you're going to take it yourself, they won't sell it to you.
Oh, really? Which is good. I mean, I just don't understand that because I know a lot of Filipinos are taking ivermectin. And believe it or not, I know prices of this, and I even asked them, where did you buy it? Are you sure it's for human? Are you sure? They will even fight with me and says, oh, I have the right source from US. Well, the US is the one saying that this is not for human. This is I just don't want to argue. And I saw that also somebody, oh, it's just the propaganda of the pharma company, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, whatever. So if one day these people will have really a long side effect because they took ivermectin, then I'm going to blame them.
If you're talking about the pharma companies, doing this, the company that makes ivermectin says, do not take our drug for COVID. The people that make it. So why would the people that make it put out a warning to say, do not take our drug that we make a profit on by you buying, because it's not safe to take it and it does not do what people are saying that it does. I mean, okay, there's people that saying, it cures, it'll cure COVID and it'll do this. But, we don't know for sure. And you could get COVID, take ivermectin and get over COVID like 95% of all the other people that get over COVID with nothing. So, yeah, I mean, I can't say any more about this except that if there was no politics involved, we didn't know anything about all the political issues and so forth, and you put two cups on a desk, and you said one is a vaccine that was designed to stop you from dying, and the other one is a deworming horse drug, which one do you think most people would take?
Well,
answer that one. People who think ivermectin is a miracle drug.
I know. I mean, this is I was like, oh my God, I want to argue with you people, but you know what? Okay, let's see. And what we talk about this many times, that better get the vaccine and then take more, vitamins just to, to support the boost your immune system and like that, and take care, wear your face mask and face shield when you go out. I mean, it's not that bad. It's not that hard to do. We're used to it. We've been using this for more than a year. 2 years. I don't know. I don't understand those people. But anyway, okay, for me and Eric LeCain, we will not take ivermectin for sure.
No. Unless I have horse worms in my system, I might think about it.
Yeah, but be careful. I will stop you from taking that because you're not a horse. Anyway, let's go to Jeffrey of Marikina. Something new. The National Gallery of Australia to return $2.2 million of stolen artwork to India. How valuable is it? Who is or are involved in this deal?
Yeah, isn't it? It's kind of, it's a change of path of most of the stories that we have here, but this is such a fascinating story because this guy, Subhash Kapoor, who owns a gallery in New York, he's been acquiring art for a while. through illegal channels. Because, I mean, when you steal a piece of very expensive art, what do you do with it? Who do you sell it to? I mean, it's not that easy to unload a multi-million-dollar piece of art, except like guys like this. So you go to a guy like this. He has buyers all over the world that'll pay millions for this kind of art. He gives you very little money for it, and then he sells it and makes millions and millions of dollars. So the Australian government, who has acquired some of this art from India, has decided to return it. They're going to give it back to India. They feel bad. And this guy is actually being held right now in India, awaiting trial. He's part of a massive U.S. federal investigation, something called Operation Hidden Idol. Isn't that a great name? And it led to the seizure of hundreds of illegally obtained historical significant artifacts, not only from India, but from other places as well. And in Australia, all the pieces that they have, all the Indian artifacts, all of them came from this guy except for one. So getting this guy and putting him in jail is hopefully going to lessen the stolen art trade.
Hopefully, but there's a lot of collectors around the world. But what is fascinating here is that how did these guys, sell this artwork to National Museum of Australia?
I don't think they knew. I don't think they understood that this artwork was obtained in an illegal way, which is interesting because, he goes to a museum in Australia and the curator of the museum says, yes, this is, exactly what the guy says it is. We'll buy it. It's not the government somewhere that's buying it as much as it is a museum. And then the government stepped in and said, all right, you know what, we're giving it back. And the museum's like, we should give it back. So I think that they just didn't know. Maybe maybe the curator really wanted this, stuff from India, and maybe he knew where it came from. I don't know. But in any case, it reminds me, it's so funny because it reminds me when I was in college, just now I just thought of this, that, there was a frat house in my college, which a lot, it was a drunken frat house where, you go to big parties and so forth. And they had one big party in the year that I was there, and a whole bunch of people came to, lots of drinking going on, and they had naked pictures of the women up on the wall. Okay. Everybody was drunk and everything. So somebody who worked at the museum came to the party, and they looked up on the wall, and one of the pictures up on the wall was a piece of artwork that was stolen from the museum 5 years before. And it was up on the wall with all the other posters.
Oh my God. Well, I understand that, because I love paintings, I love art. That's why I go to museum, and I understand a little bit of this because I went to buying and selling of, paintings before. But anyway, having, expensive paintings, this is really, this is something that you can possess for the rest of your life. But you have to obtain it, get it legally. From, but not, because, this guy, Paco, whatever his name is, I think this guy is really into stealing artwork from all over the world. That's his livelihood, maybe.
Here's how it happens. And then we'll move on, whatever. But you'll have a museum in some poor country that has, great artifacts from, 3000 BC, and somebody who works in the museum, they have millions of, artworks in storage, and he takes one. He takes one out of storage. They're not going to know. They're going to know for years that it's gone. And he takes it and he sells it to this guy. And then this is how these things happen. This is how these artworks get stolen out of museums. Some, poor guy who's sweeping up the floor says, hey, you know what, I'll just put this in my bag and I can sell it to this guy. And that's how these things happen. And then eventually, they end up in a museum in a different country.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to go to museum. You see a lot of, a lot of artwork. Anyway, let's go to Ernesto Parañaque. President Biden has been criticized in almost in every corner of the media because of the withdrawal in Afghanistan. Do you think all infos they know are the best? If they are Biden, do you think they can do better?
Yeah, all right. So the right-wing talk shows, they were waiting for something like this to pounce on, and this is it. But what many of these right-wing news media shows are forgetting is whose idea it was to withdraw from Afghanistan in the first place. Trump said he was going to leave Afghanistan in May, not August, but May. And the Afghan government, that the U.S. had put in place for 20 years, Trump went around the Afghan government and made this stupid deal with the Taliban. So the fact that this is happening right now is not really a surprise. I mean, everyone in Afghanistan, they knew this was coming. They knew that they were leaving. Trump empowered the Taliban, which is part of the reason some people are saying is how they're able to take down the government so quickly. So, in my opinion, the United States should have waited. They should have waited till the end of the year. They should have done this over time and done it very slowly. However, it was Trump that set the deadline back in May, and Biden had moved it to August. And Biden is now getting criticized by the right. But, what was their answer for doing this? Every U.S. withdrawal of military from a country that they have basically invaded and taken over has been chaotic. You can't name one that hasn't ended up in several, a similar state that what this is going on. Look at what happened with Trump and the Kurds. When Trump cut that deal with Turkey, and then he upped and left the Kurds by themselves, and the Turkish military came in and slaughtered them all. Our friends. And, that's what happened there. I don't think that Trump was ever planning to help the Afghans, to help them out, to give them a visa. He was just going to leave them there. So on the opposite side, Biden is, he has a plan to bring our people and plan to bring the Afghans home. It's going the way it's going because this is the way it kind of always goes.
Yeah.
What can I say?
This is not an easy thing. People will always criticize no matter what the president do. And, it's, like I said, it's not easy. You think it's easy for you to think, he should have done this, blah, blah, but you know what? It's not easy.
Try and move 140,000 people out of the country. It's not that hard. It's not that easy. And, they took 100,000 people out before this all started. So most of the people got out. However, then the U.S. says it is not going to stop until every U.S. citizen that wants to leave is out. So, the European allies who have criticized Trump for what he has done has not criticized Biden yet. They haven't come out and said, you know what, we could have done this. Nobody's saying that yet. It's just these, right-wing talk show media people are waiting for Biden to do anything that they can jump on and say, okay,
There's always politics here, so I'm not surprised from hearing the left and right criticism.
The reason the United States is leaving is based on politics. It's based on the political thing that, we don't want Americans to. Okay, fine. Yeah. All right, so we're leaving. It's just, it didn't go smoothly, as is. These things never go smoothly, and I can start listing all the times that the U.S. military has left the country, and it didn't go well.
Yeah. I don't think it will, it will happen really smoothly. It will never. This is like a war that you're getting out, so people will die. Yeah. Anyway, let's go to Rendering of Santa Rosa, Laguna. Why are the new LSC ships of the U.S. Navy so controversial? What do you know about this?
Because they're lemons. Yeah, I know about this story. They built these beautiful, fancy, ships. It's like having, a fancy sports car. It's all kinds of sensors, and it goes really, really fast, and has auto drive, and satellite tracking. But you try and go to the grocery store, and it breaks down. So the Navy spent a decade building these monsters, only to find out that designs are fundamentally flawed, and they're way too expensive. How could something like this happen in the U.S.? How could they build a ship for so much money that does all these things and it doesn't work? And partly because, the U.S. Navy has a budget, like an enormous budget. And so they can do like these ridiculous things, build this ridiculous boat, the biggest one that they can think of, without paying attention to things like, can the thing float? just the simplest stuff. So the United States Navy has always been number one. They've all, never thinking about anybody else that could ever catch up. The United States is number one in the military, and that's what has happened right now. After spending, $30 billion on these boats, and they only have like 35 of them made, and they're already thinking about, discarding the older models. In fact, the Freedom, which is one of these boats, has a diesel gas propulsion engine, and it continues to break down every time they take it out. So there's only 20 of them being used now. So, and just to reiterate, the reason part of this, and then this is just a crazy story which I could go on for a while. The Navy wanted to build a ship that could go 40 knots. That is, an insane amount of speed. The fastest ships right now are like 30 knots, I think, that they have. So they built this diesel engine with the gas, system that kicks in, makes the boat go crazy fast. The problem is that they were very expensive, very complex, very heavy, and extremely unreliable. And the big issue that a lot of critics come out and said, there's no reason why you need a ship to go that fast. There really is no reason. You want to, burst into a combat zone. They have missiles that go 550 miles an hour. The missile will catch you. The boat is huge. It's a huge target. Why do you need to go 40 knots? There is no real reason except the fact that, it's cool. So, the U.S. military have been messing around this for 10 years now, and what has happened is, China has ended up building the biggest navy in the world. While they're screwing around building these boats that have plug-and-play devices on them, China built the good old-fashioned kind. Radars, missiles, guns, large crews. These boats in the United States made little crew, plug-and-play devices, all this incredible technology in it. And yet, now China has superseded the United States of having the biggest navy in the world.
All right, good to know, Ren. That's the information I got from Eric. I didn't know about this navy ship anyway. Let's go to Alberto Parañaque. Do you think Duterte is really serious in running as vice president in next election?
Yeah, sure. He's going to run. Oh, for sure. You don't think he's going to run? He's going to run. Unless he does something, he pulls out a gun and shoots like, Lenny. There's no, he's going to run for sure, unless he does something really ridiculously stupid. But, of course, people have made a note that, Duterte says that, he's going to run because he wants to continue stopping the drugs. But many believe, he doesn't care about the country at all. He's running because he wants power. The fact that once, or maybe the fact that once he's out of office, they can't, they're going to prosecute him. The prosecutions are going to come like a waterfall once he gets out of office. So I think, Duterte wants to stay. I think he likes it. I think, people say he doesn't like it. I think he likes having the power, and I think he wants to stay.
That's the problem. Once you are already in power, you don't want to go down. So you do everything you can to stay. Like Russia, right? He's been there for a while. Most leaders are like that.
Just really quick, Duterte called Putin his favorite hero. And this is very similar. This is very similar because if you remember, Putin was the president, and then he assumed the job. When his term was up, he assumed the job of prime minister. And he put his buddy in, who was prime minister, as the president. And then when his term was up, then he switched with him, and he went down to prime minister, and he went back into presidency. And then, they created all these, sham elections to keep Putin in power forever. And as he's gone into power, he's changed the laws so he can stay in power, like, forever.
Yeah. That's what happened if you are in politics, really. You tasted the beauty, the power when you're on top, and you want to be there for the rest of your. Shame on them.
Yeah, what's Duterte going to do if he's not vice president? What else is he going to do? He's going to run out to back to Davao and eat hollow in the sun. He doesn't want to do that. And he says he's going to run with Chris Go, I think, who used to be his personal assistant and turned into senator. But I think, the Sarah factor is not, that's still on the table. tolling is higher than go.
Yeah, we will only know about this, after October. I forget the date when they file the candidacy. Okay, let's wait and we will talk about it again.
Of course, I know we're going to be talking about this again.
Yes. All right, let's now go to. All right. From Abet, let's see. Oh, this is interesting. President Duterte, from Joe of Manila. President Duterte made a statement of free Dolomite Beach in Manila Bay. Do you think he made sense? And also Boracay rehabilitation commonplace.
Okay. I mean, they made Manila Bay look great for, a day. I mean, okay, I'm just joking, but I know, I'm just being my usual self. But they put dolomite on the ocean to create an artificial beach, and dolomite kind of dissolves in water, doesn't it? We said this before when they did it. That what happens when there's the next big storm? And well, anyway, now we know what happens when you have the next big storm. Is it kind of disappears? So they want to fix it again. But it's only a temporary fix until they can figure out a permanent solution. So the problem is, while Filipinos are starving, they want to fix a temporary beach. So Filipinos have something to look at to make them happy during the pandemic, which they can't go to because it's a pandemic. Anyway, yes, I mean, there's an issue with dolomite too. I mean, people say, it does. I work with dolomite, so that's why I know a little bit about it. It carries a dust, and that dust is not healthy. You're not supposed to bring it in. And the coating that comes on dolomite, it washes away, it dissolves. And then the stuff that's underneath becomes hard. It's what happens when you mix it with water. And the president claims that it's nice to look at. He doesn't seem concerned about the long-lasting environmental problems or health effects that this thing may have. So I guess the only thing of concern here is they spent billions of pesos about this, and they're about to throw more money at it, even though it's just temporary. It's like it's like the guys that put in my gutter. They just use sealant. It's not going to last for long. It's just going to last for a while. But it looks nice now. So anyway.
Well, okay, I have not seen the beach yet. I want to go and find out myself how it looks. But, especially during the rainy season, I don't think it's a nice place to go. Maybe they really need to find the right solution to make it nice. I'm sure they're going to figure that out because,
they've been working on this for a while trying to figure out the solution, and they still keep saying, we're just waiting on the new solution. And, as the beach washes away, and then they spend more money and put more dolomite down, and guess what's going to happen to that dolomite? It's going to wash away. And, they keep saying, well, we're just waiting for the solution. All right, well, here's what I think is going to happen. Eventually, they're going to leave it alone, and nature's going to put everything back exactly like it was before. Because you can't go against Philippine nature. Philippine nature is ruthless. It is ruthless. I've never seen rain like it rains here. So, I don't know, should Manila Bay, they should fix up Manila Bay. Building an artificial beach, was that a good idea? Should they keep fixing it, and then as it fix it again? I don't know, Lalie, Tolentino, how much money do you have? How much money do you have that you can keep putting it into dolomite? Now, okay, the Boracay part of it. They asked about Boracay too. Duterte banned casinos from Boracay, costing the economy billions of dollars in revenue. However, he's turned around now and says that the Philippines needs that money. It needs that money during the pandemic. So he's letting the casinos back into Boracay. So what's his name? Andrew Tan is now free to build his casinos. It's the same guy that owns Resorts World, I think. They're putting, hotels in, the golf course, and, there you go. Casinos, the cornerstone of corruption in the Philippines. Well known for money laundering. Remember that Bangladesh scandal we talked about? But anyway, so Boracay is going to, I guess, eventually become the playground for rich foreigners. So,
maybe,
so
at the same time, in all fairness, it's only this government who thought of cleaning the Boracay. And a lot of my friends really appreciate it when they went there. They said it's really nice. They have cleaned everything. So
it's great.
Yeah. Which look, I just want to be fair to those people who did a good job. And it's for the benefit. The problem now is we cannot go to Boracay because of so many restrictions. But I think
soon. I mean, the poor people can never go back to Boracay again because it's going to be so expensive there that the only place that poor Filipinos can go is the Manila beach.
Yes.
Because that's the only place they can afford. But yeah, it's here again, for all my friends that have been to Boracay in the last while, within the last 6 months when they opened it up for that time, they said it's absolute beauty.
Well,
it's gorgeous.
That's why we need to give credit where credit is due. So, okay, at least they did something good. For the casino, it will take a while before they can even open it.
Building casinos and golf courses. I mean, that's what happens everywhere. I mean, I grew up in North Carolina with the beaches we used to go to, and now those beaches are like, I don't even recognize them anymore because of the hotels, the golf courses, and all these, things that they have built. So I guess that's just the way, people are complaining that Boracay is going to be only for rich foreigners, but that's kind of what the Philippines needs right now, I think, are rich foreigners to come in and lose all their money in a Filipino casino. I think that's probably not the worst idea.
Yeah, okay, let's whatever. All right,
I don't have the money for the casino, so Andrew
too.
Tan is not looking for people like me to come visit.
Okay, let's go to Pastor Ed of Pasig. What do you think of the chances that the opposition can unite and field just one presidential vice president slate? What do you think?
I mean, this is a problem in the Philippines. Ego. They can't swallow the ego. The opposition, if they're going to beat the Duterte machine, somebody's going to have to swallow something in order for them to stand behind one candidate and one vice presidential candidate. As we saw in the last election that Duterte was in, I mean, he plays politics different. His people go on social media. They know how to create controversy to a certain type of the public, a certain part of the public. And Filipinos tend to believe anything they see on Facebook. And Duterte's people realize this. And they realize this in the last election. I mean, I think without that machine that Duterte had, he would not have won. People will disagree with me. But I mean, I watch those things. Those people write anything. And they know how to manipulate the social media in a way that they can also manipulate the media itself and how the media reports it. And it's a clever trick. The question is, can it work twice? Can they pull this off again? Because in theory, Duterte should not have won before, but he did. And the reason that he won was because he had the Duterte machine working on Facebook, and also they had so many candidates that canceled each other out. If they had all voted for one candidate, then Duterte would not have won. So I think that's the question that they're having to look at. If they have two or more candidates, I don't think that they can beat Duterte. I mean, Duterte's running for vice president. That is meaningless. He's really going to become, he's going to be the president. Whoever the president is going to just be there for Duterte to give instructions to, I believe. He's going to be vice president on paper. But in reality, he's going to be the president. If Sarah is the president, if Go is the president, I mean, I think so. And I'm interested to see if Sarah wins. Because polling-wise, Sarah and her father have the best chance of winning. But if they run, of course, there's going to be a flurry of lawsuits. Because people are going to say, hey, you know what? You can't do this. And there's going to be people that say you can't, which is obvious. But, that is going to be how it plays out. What's it called? One Sembanyan? Is that the name of
Sembanyan, I think.
Yeah. They need to make their move now. They need to make it now and unify themselves either behind Lenny or Carpio or whoever. And they need to pound those stories about how many family members have died at the hands of Duterte and how he sold the Philippines to China and how he's handled the virus so poorly and how the economy is in shambles. I mean, they need to pound on that. They need to, stick that out frontwards and forwards if they're going to beat him. Because if they don't, he's going to be president again.
The problem is, the problem with this, because there's so many parties, I don't know who else will run because, we already know about Lacson. We know.
Yeah.
Marcos is
Lacson's not going to fly.
But the problem is, we don't know yet because I think the Liberal Party are trying to weigh in who could really beat Duterte if ever. I think they're working on it. They're trying to use the strategy that Duterte used before, like not saying they're going to run, because here in the history I will recall it right when Binay was already all over the place that he's going to win, blah, blah, blah. But what did they do to him? They attacked him with the axe.
He peaked too early. He peaked too early is what happened.
Exactly. So that's the reason I think they're trying not to say who is running from the Liberal Party because maybe somebody will just attack that person. So I think that's the right move. So the only time we will know is when they file their candidacy in October. So this is like over a month only, and we will know who will be running, and we will see already the politics, fighting back and forth, and you know how it works. So, to me, whoever will be the president again of the republic, I would just do your job. I will just be a good citizen to do my share as well. I will vote with the right candidate for myself.
I think that. The ego factor is going to be the biggest thing because they're going to somebody's going to have to step back. Somebody's going to have to. And if you remember before, the president at the time said, you know what? Hey, this is getting scary. You guys are not watching the polls. If you cancel each other out, this guy's going to win. And he begged some of the candidates to drop out, and they would not. Because they thought that they could win, and they all got equal number of votes, and then Duterte got just enough to win. So
it was a landslide for him. I cannot even believe it.
I wouldn't call it a landslide because if you added all the candidates' votes together, Duterte would have lost by a lot. But that's not how it was because they had so many candidates, and Duterte has this group of people. There's a group of people in the Philippines that, like I said, if Duterte pulled out a gun and shot the vice president in the head, they would vote for him still. I mean, there is a group of people that are going to vote for Duterte no matter what. And
for sure.
Forget about those people. They need to just forget about that group and worry about those people that were going to go either way. And that's what they didn't do in the last election, and that's what they need to do this time. If this, I'm an American, so it, doesn't matter so much to me. But if they're going to get behind Lenny, they need to get behind Lenny soon, or get behind whoever. I mean, the good thing about using the vice president is she's extremely well known, and she has a lot of popularity. There's, like I said, there's so many people that said she can't win. I don't. Here's one of the things where I'm not going to have a good guess to who should be that person. I don't have a good guess. Maybe I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Not even him. If it is Manny, he's too young to do the job. I mean, personally, he has to. He needs to learn a lot of things still in politics. So not yet. I don't think he's right for that position. Even if he likes. He would like to run. No, I don't think so. So,
Lalie Tolentino, who's going to run against Duterte?
I don't know yet. Because, the only time that, the only person who really said that is running is only Lacson for now.
Yeah.
I don't know who else yet.
But he doesn't want to play ball. Yeah, he doesn't want to, So,
because it's not the right time yet to. For me, I'll just wait, and then I'll see from there, and I'll tell you my conclusion or my observation the moment they fired the candidacy.
All right. So me and Lalie Tolentino are going to be like candidates. We are going to wait to make our announcement as to who's running. So On that note, Lalie and I are going to have to wait till next week till we can discuss this more, because we're going to be discussing this a lot. Even though the election is pretty far away, I'm sure we're going to be talking about this almost probably every week. So please continue to write in the questions. The questions were great this week. We have enjoyed talking about them. So for me, Eric LeCain, and Lalie Tolentino on the World News Jam right here on DZRJ and RJ TV. Everybody be safe out there. And guess what? We'll see you next week.